Hey there and welcome back to XCOM 2. My name is Pete and today we complete another episode of our Legend Ironman walkthrough of XCOM 2 War of the Chosen. Last time we left off after neutralizing an enemy VIP and strengthening our foothold in Asia, and before we get things going here today, we will plug 2 more soldiers into the training center, as Ranger Starfall and Reaper Dragonova can now form a level 2 bond. At the moment, the 2 of them are tired anyway, so it's not like we could send them out into missions, so instead let's increase their bond level and have them ready to go for the next one. As we then jump into the world map, we will continue to build our radio relay in East Asia. However, the construction process is soon interrupted.
Commander, we're almost out of time. The Avatar project is entering its final stages. The only way we're going to slow the Elders' progress is by destroying one of their facilities. We have to move fast or everything we've worked towards will be lost.
Alright, we are now informed that the Avatar project has reached a critical level and that the alien victory is imminent. Don't worry though, I would still say that we have things under control, but for the next few days things might just appear to be a little bit more critical.
Commander, we've located one of their facilities.
Now, the reason for all of this is the construction of yet another alien facility, this one located in South America in a region controlled by the Warlock, and its construction has now also transformed to the Avatar project tracking bar at the top of the screen. We are now facing the doom clock. As you can see, we only have 28 days until it's game over, but again, don't worry, the situation is not as bad as it might seem. And so, despite the clock ticking down, we continue to scan and in doing so finish construction of the Shadow Chamber. This now unlocks the Codebreaker achievement. Time to take a closer look at our new facility.
Although I'm impressed with the strides we've made in infiltrating the alien psionic network, the depths of their technological advancement continue to leave us one step behind. However, with the enhanced decryption capabilities of this chamber, I'm confident we will find a great deal more information than we had previously hoped.
New objective added.
Alright, so with the Shadow Chamber we have finally constructed a facility where we can examine the Codex brain. It does serve a few other purposes as well, but more on that later.
We are fully prepared to begin our analysis of the material recovered from the Advent Black Site, Commander. With the Shadow Chamber fully operational, we can use its advanced decryption capabilities to analyze the Codex artifact recovered by our forces.
Now, in many ways, the Shadow Chamber is very much an extension of our research labs. We assign projects in the same way we are used to. At the moment, we only have the Codex brain and the Black Site vial to study. However, and this is important, the Shadow Chamber actually shares our staff of scientists with the research labs. That means as soon as we start a project here, we can no longer research anything else, and considering that we are just 3 days away from unlocking the beam cannon, let's hold off for a little while. Yes, both Shadow Chamber projects are marked as crucial storyline objectives, but just like the Shadow Chamber itself, there is really no reason to complete them as soon as possible. So instead, let's keep our scientists where they are and continue building that radio relay. All the while, the Avatar project timer mercilessly continues to tick down.
We're reading you.
Alright, so there we are, we have our first radio relay installed in Asia. Unfortunately, to obtain the rather useful continent bonus, we will require a second one. But before we get to that, I think it's time to do something about the aliens' progress.
Commander, we've had the Shadow Chamber running the numbers. These are the tactical projections for our next field operation.
And yes indeed, as we get ready to attack our first alien facility, we see one more use of the Shadow Chamber. Just like the Hyperwave Relay from the first game, the Shadow Chamber allows us to see exactly how many and which types of enemies are present on the mission. This one here only has 9 and none of them are too frightening. Although the assassin is also guaranteed to appear on this one, so it's not going to be that easy.
Setting course for the Arctic.
Still, this here is our somewhat mid-tier squad for this one. Zucchini, Warhawk, Reaper Sleeper, Typhoon, Julian and Luna Rodonis. Not necessarily the best we have available, but they definitely know what they're doing. Now that we have plenty of supplies available, we will also finally purchase the plasma rifle. In this squad right here, only Specialist Zucchini will benefit from it, but against robotic enemies, and we have seen there will be a few on this mission, it will be extra useful, because of course the higher the base damage output of a weapon is, the bigger the effect of blue screen rounds. And so we set out to hit the aliens in one of their outposts. Let's see exactly how this goes.
Sky Ranger
Squad green to deploy.
Local resistance forces tipped us to the location of an alien facility tied to the Avatar project operating out of this area. We're going in to shut it down, permanently. Approach the target and place the X4 charges at the designated position. Then move to a safe distance for detonation. If we can take out that facility, we might just buy ourselves some time. Menace 1-5. Target coordinates are locked in. Move to designated position and place the X4 charges.
Alright, the mission objective is plain and simple. We need to get in, plant the X4 charges and get back out. There is actually no need to kill any enemies whatsoever, and I will probably at some point show you how it is possible to beat these missions in just 1 or 2 turns, but that time is not today.
In short order. No place for you to go now.
Instead, as we move up our Reaper, Celica immediately detects the first 3 enemies, 2 Spectres and thankfully just 1 Codex. This, I think, should be manageable. For the time being, though, we are just setting things up. We can safely dash into full cover positions with pretty much the entire squad here. Thankfully, our enemies are still a good distance away. And as they make their move, it remains that way. They are really not getting too much closer here. So I think we can already prepare to strike. Let's move up Zucchini a little bit and get Julian onto the high ground. And then we activate overwatches for everyone but our Reaper and Sharpshooter Redonis. And with our Sharpshooter we are then using Deadeye to hopefully insta-kill the Codex. Blue-screen rounds and a 94% hit chance should ideally not fail us. And indeed, it's just minimum damage, but that is enough, and that leaves the 2 Spectres to run into our overwatches. Alright, so not exactly the ideal order of reaction shots I had hoped for. I had hoped for Zucchini to go a little bit earlier, or at least not last. So at this point we do unfortunately have 1 full health Spectre left standing. Still, that's not the end of the world, and there is even a small chance we might be able to kill it anyway. Thanks to killing the Codex on the first shot, Redonis has now received an extra action. We can only use it on a pistol shot, but that might still give us some good damage.
I think I got a piece.
And of course the Codex dodges. Had it not done that, I think the 6 points of damage here would have been the full 12, in which case we could have actually killed it with our Reaper. Unfortunately, that is now no longer an option, so we might as well use her to grab the loot.
I am trusting you. You will never hide from me.
And we recover a Great Haul, an Illyrium core, an advanced scope and a superior laser sight, but we also detect 2 enemy turrets on the roof of the alien facility. So let's move Celica into full cover and end our turn, and since we have just revealed ourselves, I think some of you may know what comes next.
Join me.
Yes, the assassin is here, and it hasn't actually been that long since we've met her last time, and as always we want to make sure to attack her in full force once she reveals herself, just so we get the most out of the bewildered bonus.
And I will end this quickly.
Chosen assassin is moving near your position. Stay on guard, people.
For the time being, though, the Spectre is our main concern, and it does what I had pretty much expected it would do, shadow binding Typhoon. I think this might even be the first time we actually see a Spectre attack one of our soldiers.
You cannot run.
My position's been compromised.
Shadow binding is not as bad as it might seem at first. It is basically the Spectre's version of mind control, although this time there are actually 2 ways to solve it. The first would obviously be to kill the Spectre. The other one, and this is where it differs from mind control, would be to kill the shadowbound copy of Typhoon. Both ways would then wake our Grenadier up from his unconscious state, and he will also not take any damage whatsoever. The easier solution is obviously to kill 2 birds with 1 stone, and that would be to take out the Spectre, and conveniently enough, Zucchini is easily moved into the perfect position to do that.
Según lo previsto.
So 16 points of damage on the crit, that is enough to take out the Spectre and to regain control over Typhoon, and as you can see, he is still standing as if nothing happened. And so let's use the rest of our turn to keep advancing with our Reaper. This actually also gives Sharpshooter Adonis squad sight on both turrets, and well, with an 80% hit chance we might as well take the shot. Once again, despite 4 points of armor, blue screen rounds should deal some good damage here.
Hard target, minimal damage.
Alright, that is indeed some good damage, and so for the rest of the turn our only task is to not move into the turret's line of sight, as we end our turn on Overwatch in anticipation of the assassin getting closer.
Surely there's a more difficult task available?
And well, it looks like we timed that just perfectly.
I had warned the elders that my brethren were not up to the task. Still, their deaths only solidify my place as the true Chosen.
We've got our shot at the Chosen. Let's make sure it counts.
My reserves are endless, Commander.
Alright, as her first offensive action of the mission, the assassin uses the Mech Lord ability, and all of a sudden we have 2 more mechanical enemies to worry about. Well, would you look at that, Julian and Warhog absolutely not messing around. Once again, our ranger is showing that he can be effective even over longer distances.
No escape.
Right, so the good news first, we have already taken out one of the mechs and it also dropped some loot. The bad news, the other one is still standing and on Overwatch, protecting the assassin with 47 hit points and 3 points of armor. So let's get rid of that armor first, and conveniently enough we have a Reaper in perfect position.
Delicate placement.
With Celica here we can place the Claymore and then even have an action left to use afterwards. Blowing up the Claymore, that task then falls to Grenadier Typhoon. The Volatile Mix ability gives him a bit of extra damage that definitely comes in handy. There we go, I would say that suddenly looks a lot more manageable. The Claymore actually still counts as a Reaper attack, doing extra damage, and so the assassin now only with 31 hit points left. Keep in mind though that any shot that misses her will generate shielding, so for attack number 3 we are once again going with Sharpshooter Adonis. After blowing up the assassin's cover, his shot is guaranteed to hit.
There is no place you can hide from me.
And the 50% crit chance also comes to fruition, which makes things a bit easier. And well, I have to say, so far things are going absolutely perfectly. With our next move then, we are putting Julian into overdrive mode. And as we're moving forward, we want to make sure that he stays in range of only one of the 2 turrets. Thankfully we can do that and still have him remain in rocket launcher range.
Physical exertion outpoint.
And we get a little bit more lucky with the damage output. I actually had not expected for the mech to be killed here. And while we could now follow that up with an 82%er, I am not exactly sure I want to do that. Again, if we miss this, the assassin will gain some shielding, so how about an 84%er instead? Yes, I know, it's just 2%, but those 2% might just make the difference.
That will not be enough to stop me.
Either way, Warhog connects for some good damage, and with that the next shot can now go to Julian after all. His stock will make sure that the assassin goes down no matter what.
They're as weak as ever. At one time, it would have been unthinkable that I might ever fall in battle. Now, it appears you have bested me once again.
Excellent work, Commander. We may not have put them down for good, but at the very least we've held off the Chosen for another day.
Alright, there we go, a bit of redemption for Julian's performances of the last few episodes. But with the assassin dealt with, we should now only have 6 enemies left on the map, maybe even just 5 if she was part of the original 9. I am actually not entirely sure how the game handles that. The turrets here, meanwhile, are not part of the count, but at least the first one is also quickly taken care of. 1 combat protocol, and that leaves only the one further away, and we have been careful to make sure that we are outside of its firing range. At this point then, we have 1 action left with our Reaper, so let's scout ahead.
I go where you tell me.
The loot will still be there on the next turn.
Menace 1-5, you're near the target position. Who knows how long they've been keeping these storage units running down here.
Alright, so we have located the spot where we need to plant the X4 charges. Also, there are some storage tanks in this facility housing, well, most likely dead human bodies. Either way, nothing we can do for them at this point but to blow up the place. The enemy turn then remains uneventful, so let's begin our next turn by grabbing the loot.
Moving as ordered. A patrol is upwind.
As Dragonova moves in, she also detects Trooper, Officer and Heavy Mech, just as she recovers an advanced repeater and an advanced conditioning PCS.
Is over.
So, pretty good haul here today, and regarding our enemies, well, they are standing pretty close to an explosive, and Celica's remote start ability shows us that it is not the only one, so no matter where they move, I suppose they're in for some trouble, which gives us the flexibility to move up some of our squad on this turn.
Volk says I am to obey.
And just for a brief second here, this also reveals the next group of enemies, a Sectoid and an Archon. However, strangely enough, it looks like they have not yet detected us. Well, I suppose we'll take that and can now use Julian to fire on the turret.
We'll test the limits of that armor.
And the 84% also hits, so let's follow it up with a 74% from Rodonis. With max damage, the turret would be taken out.
Armor still holding!
Unfortunately though, it's left standing with 2 hit points, but we've got a plan for that. Specialist Zucchini can simply use Haywire Protocol to shut it down. Thanks to the Skulljack in his inventory, his hacking stat is a 110. Meanwhile, the turret's hacking defense has been reduced with blue screen rounds. Long story short, the shutdown is guaranteed. And that means we can spend the rest of the turn reloading and repositioning. Let's see if our enemies move, and if they don't, they're in for a surprise on the next one.
Overwatch!
And it looks like the advent pod has remained where they are, so let's blow them up with remote start and see what's left.
Our world is dangerous. I know where you are.
Alright, so that takes out the trooper but leaves Officer and Mech standing. They now relocate and also catch sight of some of our other troops, but not for long, as we move in with Typhoon now and work towards another achievement. We need to kill enemies with every single heavy weapon in the game, and we have not yet done so with the Shredder gun. However, that is now going to change.
Rip them to shreds!
And that leaves only the mech with 1 meager hit point, another excellent target for Julian and his stock.
Doesn't seem all that difficult to me.
And well, now that he is allowed to miss a few shots, Julian suddenly doesn't want to. Either way, our target goes down, and with that we now only have 1 group of enemies left, I think. Plus the turret on the roof here, of course, but that one is another good case for a stock.
Okay, so I got one.
And once again, a hit when we don't even need one, and with it, Ranger Warhawk also grabs the promotion to Captain. At this point then, we can end our turn on Overwatch. Let's see if the Archon and Sectoid come any closer.
Fernando, scanning!
Well, they do not, but the alien facility is certainly starting to fall to pieces. Moving up Reaper Sleeper then also re-establishes line of sight with our targets, and that allows us to safely move up to establish an Overwatch ambush without being detected too early.
Stomp, stomp, stomp.
I hope it's worth it. What's over there?
Reapers are always
Afirmativo, cubriendo.
There is nowhere to hide.
Our enemies then also do come closer, but unfortunately not quite close enough. But thankfully the mission does not have any timers, so after moving our Reaper up onto the roof and relocating with a few of our other soldiers too, we can once again go on Overwatch. Let's see if it works out this time around.
See everything.
Anything that passes by.
Well, it does not, but maybe the 3rd time's the charm. Once again, with the assassin already defeated, we have all the time in the world.
Them pass.
And there we go, that looks a little bit more promising. Let's see how many of our reaction shots find their target.
Get him next time.
Saddle up!
Okay, I would say that was a pretty good Overwatch ambush. The Sectoid is left with 3 hit points, the Archon with 4. So let's do this quickly. After moving up with Warhawk and Typhoon, Julian can grab himself yet another kill. There is an achievement for promoting a Spark to the highest rank, which is why we are so aggressively going after kills with him. Meanwhile, the Archon is a great target for our Reaper, who then actually also unlocks the promotion to Captain, so that is now at least 2 promotions we can take care of after the mission. For the rest of the turn then, we bring some of our squad up onto the roof, just in case the enemies send in reinforcements. That is something that could happen as soon as we plant the X4 charges, which we will therefore also not do on this turn. On the enemy turn then nothing happens, it looks like the coast is clear, so let's move in Warhawk and plant the charge.
Menace 1-5, status confirmed. X4 charges are armed. Move to the extraction point for immediate evac.
Okay, so we're not getting any notification about reinforcements arriving, so with no more experience left to collect, we might as well get out of here now.
Necesito evacuación cuanto antes!
Let's put down the evac zone right outside of the base. That is still close enough for Warhawk to reach it with 1 move on this turn. Eventually then, everyone is in place and we can get out of here, with another successful mission behind us and a big blow dealt to the aliens.
My battle is over.
Menace 1-5, status confirmed. X4 charges detonating.
Alright, and there we are. Yes indeed, the assassin has once again been defeated. I have to say though, I find her a bit more tricky than the hunter, and we definitely got lucky with detecting her early on today. And I think that played a large role in this mission once again being a flawless one. So let's fly back home now and see just how many promotions we have waiting for us.
The speaker commended loyal citizens today for standing up to those who would abandon our values for those of the old world. The remarks followed a moment of silence for peacekeepers slain by XCOM dissidents.
The Elders Chosen are incredibly resilient. Despite our victory over them today, we still have much to learn if we wish to destroy them permanently.
Okay, so just the 2 promotions we were informed about. Let's begin with Warhawk. This was actually not the easiest choice, as both Implacable and Bladestorm are excellent abilities. I do like Warhawk's role as a super aggressive ranger though, and for that role I think Bladestorm does fit a bit better. Still, once he obtains a few more ability points, grabbing Implacable too is not out of the question. That brings us to Reaper Sleeper, who at the captain level has now unlocked Sting and Soul Harvest. We have already talked about both of those abilities with Dragonova, and she also unlocks Shredder as the random XCOM skill. Pretty intriguing, but I think Sting is the one we'll go with first here. In my opinion, the Reaper's biggest downside is their lack of offensive options if you want to remain concealed and to not have a bunch of explosives scattered around. So I think Sting makes a lot of sense, and we're also spending a few extra points to grab Needle on top of that. That means that any shot Celica takes from Shadow Mode now ignores 2 points of armor, which effectively gives her many more options to finish off enemies from stealth. Loot-wise then, it was indeed a pretty good mission. Unfortunately, we were not able to bring back any bodies or wrecks, which also means that we have still not yet obtained a single turret wreck, and I had hoped for that to be the case already.
Your team did a commendable job in destroying the aliens' facility, Commander. Their efforts towards the Avatar project will undoubtedly be set back by your incursion.
And indeed, the destruction of this facility has also removed 1 point from the Avatar project progress bar, which means we are back to the familiar point tracker and have fended off the Doom Clock for now. Now you can see it at the bottom left. As a result of this mission, we also have another soldier bond to confirm, and of course we will gladly do so, as Reaper Sleeper and Grenadier Typhoon now become bondmates. As always, we can confirm that with a photo and celebrate the fact that pretty much all of our high-ranking soldiers now have bondmates. In my opinion, a game mechanic that you shouldn't worry too much about, but if you do manage to rank up a few high-level bonds, that can definitely be worth your while. What might also be worth our while is to continue scanning for just a moment longer. As you can see, we are just one day away from unlocking the beam cannon, so let's head back to the world map. As we do, we are then also greeted by the familiar blocky progress bar. We'll have to see how long it stays around this time.
Avenger plotting new course.
For now at least, we can quickly fly over to the black market. We have not yet been there this month and I would like to see what they have on offer.
Market is open.
At the moment, they have increased interest in advanced agility PCSs as well as in Berserker and Archon corpses. Now, the Berserker corpses we'll hold on to. We have not yet completed the autopsy, but we have done so for the Archon, so the corpses are no longer needed. And I also don't think that we need 2 advanced agility PCSs, especially not since we have at least one superior one lying around too, I believe. So let's get rid of the less powerful one, which interestingly enough actually gets us more money, and then we can take a quick look at the list of things to buy. As always, I would like to hear what you guys find intriguing here. I think we might be getting closer to the point where we will actually have to purchase some alloys and delirium crystals. Buying all those plasma weapons consumes a lot of those, and obviously it does make sense to upgrade our arsenal as soon as we can. But apart from that, let me know if there's anything else here that strikes your interest. And with that, let's get to work on the second radio relay in Asia. For maximum supplies, we'll put this one down in India, and in just 6 days we will then finally unlock the Asian continent bonus.
Our inspiration did prove beneficial.
For the time being then, we are interrupted by the completion of the beam cannon project. This has now unlocked the beam cannon itself as well as the Illyrium phase cannon. The latter would be the plasma weapon upgrade for the Spark, while the beam cannon itself is then only usable by our grenadiers, but both are classes that fire a lot, so this definitely comes in handy. We also receive an inspiration for the storm gun, the shotgun upgrade, although at this point I would once again like to hear your opinion. Should we follow up on this inspiration and unlock the storm gun in 5 instead of 7 days? Should we perhaps instead unlock the hunter weapons, which will benefit our sharpshooters, or powered armor, which could benefit everyone? Or should we not research anything in here and instead focus our attention on the shadow chamber, where we could begin looking into either the Codex brain or the black site vial? At this point in time, I have a few thoughts on this, but I have not yet decided, so let me know what you think we should do here as we make the cut in today's episode. As always, I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, then I would be very happy if you could leave a thumbs up. If you like what I'm doing and want to support me and my channel further, then you can of course go ahead and subscribe and stay up to date when the next episode comes out. Grab some merch over on shop.petecomplete.com, or check out and maybe even pledge to the Pete Complete Patreon. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next time. Cheers.